What up, guys? I'm gonna be doing a real quick review on the movie Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The whole gang is back. We have new characters now. First of all, if you haven't already watched it, you should probably watch it. There's gonna be probably some spoilers. I just can't help myself. So, yeah. And if you're gonna watch it, probably watch it IMAX or laser projector if it's available anywhere near you. Um, okay, so James Gunn really loves these characters. He really writes well for them. He like throws in deep cuts from the comics. Like he loves this property, and he didn't want to do like a Hangover situation where they just pretty much repeat everything from the first movie because everyone loved it, and just repeat it again, and just in a different planet or in Bangkok, per se. So this movie's like completely different and fresh from the first one. It's just that now their dynamic has changed. They're not these strangers working together. They're basically a family. And what happens in families is that people fight and bicker and argue, um, but they still care for each other and love each other. And everyone's kind of going through their own arc. Peter's going through the arc of the stuff between him and his father, who played by Kurt Russell, who's like oozing cool, but there's something still really fucking demented and like villainous about him. And Gamora's going through the stuff between her and Nebula, and like the resentment Nebula feels towards Gamora for always winning in fights. That Thanos would make them, fight, and every time Nebula would lose, he would like take a piece of her off and then replace it with machine until basically she's like all machine. And all the Nebula really ever wanted from Gamora was his sister. So they got that dynamic. Then Rocket's going through his own thing of like pushing people away, and like he's kind of a jerk to people. So he's kind of afraid he's gonna like end up by himself. We also have the arc Yondu's going through, which is one of the biggest arcs of the movie. He's like a Ravager, and he's kind of selfish, and he broke Ravager code, so he got kicked out of the Ravagers by dealing with children. You don't deal with children, like that's one of their huge rules. And when he started working for Ego, he thought it was nothing until he found out what Ego was doing, and that's one of the reasons he kept Peter for and basically raised Peter. So the arc that Yondu from the last movie to this movie, and the arc he has, basically he goes through a mutiny, he gets pretty much almost killed, and he gets exiled, and until he takes over, he basically kills his own crew, who he had been. It was like, I think it took like one, he saw some of his old buddies, and he tried to talk to them, and they all just shunned him. He's like, nope, we're not gonna talk to you. You know what you did. We don't deal in children. And there was already a mutiny about to happen. So when it finally happens, he starts realizing that he was part of this family once before, and he doesn't have that now. He's surrounded, like there's this part where they're like at some sort of brothel or something, and even though he's surrounded by people, he looks empty. He looks lonely. So I think what those Ravagers were to him were his family, like the way the Guardians are a family. Like those are people you can trust, you can talk to. Like they're people you love. And I think he surrounded himself with basically these pirates where he was kind of their leader, but like it was meaningless. I mean, Peter was the person he cared for the most. I mean, all those times he let him slide. I mean, even though I wouldn't say Yondu's a good dude, he let him, everyone calls him out. It was like, there's so many times you could have killed him, and all those times he slided you, but you didn't for some reason. Well, that's just because that's like someone he actually cared about. Because it was like his son. And at the end of the movie, that's kind of what we figure out, that Yondu was really Peter's dad. It's who taught him how to shoot, how to steal, how to basically become the man that he was. Because at the end of the day, Yondu had a good heart. Underneath all that bad stuff, just the way Peter has a good heart, underneath all like the he could be a dick sometimes too, So yeah, I mean, like, everyone has a great arc throughout the movie, uh, and it's like really really funny, and everyone's got really great character development in the movie, even though the plot's not like it's not like these huge like jump, like it feels like it's just weeks after where we left them off, and like they're still like out there taking money and to fight, and they're just like now learning to be around each other. um the stuff with like the one thing about the movie is that they all kind of get split up. It's rare, like it's not until like the third act, oh, and a bit in the first act and the last act. So like the first set piece all the way to the last set pieces is where like we see the Guardians together, but most of the movie you kind of split them up. This they go over here, you go over here, and Yandu's over here. Like, so everyone's kind of split up. Everyone's going kind of going through their own thing, dealing with their own stuff. So the dynamics a little changed, just because like there's this set piece, and like Rocket is doing his thing with Yondu over here. uh, Gamora and Peter are in the Eagle's planet, and like kind of dealing with that. So everyone's kind of split up, and that's like you almost want them to be together, but I mean, like the payoff in the movie, the setup, everything is great. Um, I wish there was more, some of just a little more Sylvester Stallone's character, just because like him and his crew and the Ravagers look so cool, and I hope like they kind of hinted at maybe there'll be more of that, more of them in the future. Stay all the way through to the end of the movie. The Adam Warlock is introduced. Um, the Ravager team up of what some of the original Guardians of the Galaxy members from the '60s are kind of not introduced because we see them in the movie, but they kind of all like, hey, now, whoa, and big spoiler, now that Yondu's dead, let's go steal some shit. Um, and hopefully we get to see them all in the future. Uh, so I don't know. I feel like there's a big future in the cosmic Marvel universe, and there's like like a lot of really cool stuff that could be explored. Um, the one thing about the movie is that it didn't really it didn't set up Guardians in Infinity War. Like we don't like there is some stuff that affected Earth specifically, but we don't know how they are gonna end up in Infinity War or in Earth. And none of the scenes at the end put them in Earth or put them in contact with any of the Avengers that we know. Like they could have, like there was some stuff where like, oh, maybe we'll see Hulk flying, especially when they're going in light speed and going like passing through all these um, planets and stuff. I'm like, oh, maybe we'll see like a little hint here or a little hint there, but nothing. We didn't really get to see any of the Earth-based Avengers or just any Avenger at all. So it didn't really connect them to the larger MCU, or to the rest of the MCU at all. So that was a little weird. Well, not weird. It's just a little disappointing. You kind of want to see. I mean, because we saw Thanos in the first one, we kind of want to see Thanos in this one and kind of see where it's gonna go. Just kind of put them in the bigger world, and we didn't. And I mean, it's nothing that I guess that it's like too bad, but I mean, it just happens. Like you would want to see it. The Stanley cameo, great. It kind of worked with what people were saying, that he was going to be like the Watcher. And we see a lot of cool alien races. Yeah, I mean, it really helped develop the cosmic world. And I feel like Volume 3 is going to be great, just because now there's so many more aliens that they have introduced, and like all these like ideas of other Ravagers and other people. So yeah, I mean, it's a great movie. If you haven't already seen it, go see it. I don't know what else to talk about besides how amazing and how funny it all was. And if you're gonna go check it out, go with a big group or go at night when it's sold out because you want to see it with a crowd and hear where all the jokes are. And it's just cool seeing like everyone laugh and having that shared experience. So yeah, all right, guys, that was my review. I loved it. Check it out and subscribe to the channel. Help us out. Support us on Patreon. And yeah, thank you.